Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of The Talks. Here we'll be talking about something which a lot of people have heard about is the power of communication. Why I'm talking about this and what are you going to get at the end of this video? Communication, there are certain misnomers, misunderstanding about communication which we right from the beginning we think will be thrown light upon. Second thing is, what exactly does someone say when you say that you need to have a good communication skill? What do we mean by it? So let's start with the first misconception which we have: good communication skill. Good communication skill doesn't mean that you will be using tough English words or you will be very much good in the language, having a very good vocabulary or something. That is a misnomer. Good communication skill is basically how you transfer your thought process from one person to another in a clarified way so that the less number of attenuation, or there's a less risk of minimizing the information which you want to portray. So for example, if a person A to a person B, an idea needs to be transmitted from a person A to person B, a person A is said to have good communication skill if that person very easily, in a very lucid manner, is being able to transfer the thought process to from his mind to him, and that person can really summarize it. Now, there are certain processes when we actually try to say something. And the first most important thing is structured. Our mind is accustomed or being trained in such a way that whenever we wanted to get something very easily, if it comes in an unstructured format, it gets very tough for us to inference or infer from that. So a good communication skill needs to have a very structured approach. Now, when we talk about structured approach, we have a lot of school of thoughts. One of the school of thoughts is a lot of the STAR method, and there are lots of other school of thoughts. Now, let me clarify one of the school of thought which will simplify all of them, and based on that, all of them combines to one thing. One of the approach one says is, when we speak to someone, we can basically talk about all the details, what exactly is happening. Then we can have what is the problem we are facing. And the second and the last part is what is the solution or recommendation we say. Or rather, the first part of that is you giving an introduction to someone, then based on that, you give the main body. And the last part is the inference. That is how you structure your conversation. This one is called bottom up approach. Why it's bottom up? Because in the bottom, you have the huge mass of data. Based on that, you gradually move towards the apex like a pyramid, and you follow this bottom to top approach. Now, the second one, so if you talk about top down approach here, you talk about your solutions in the beginning. What is your recommendations? What are your observation? What are your solutions which you're proposing? What can be the impact in the beginning? In the second part, you talk about basically what exactly are the complexity which is happening, or what are the constraints are there. And the last part is the whole situation which is happening. This one basically is called top down approach. Now, when we are speaking about two approaches, surely it has to have certain pros and cons. Generally, your approach of communicating what you want to communicate depends on the target audience. Now, by target audience, what do you mean? There are one very important thing which you need to concentrate is, first of all, you need to concentrate how much level of information that person needs to get, right? And also, what is the time span on the basis of which you do. When you are having a normal conversation, if you just directly say the result with someone person, it won't be very much effective, because that person wants to know the whole process, right? Now, if you're talking with someone who is basically from a C-suite or a CEO or a person who there's a sense of urgency where the person just needs to, for example, let me suppose somebody wants to know about the status of a certain incident. Correct. Now, if you start right from the beginning, okay, this happened, XYZ went to this, then there's a problem happened, then I basically went to that person will have less attention span, because that person's main objective and your target audience is just to understand what exactly the solution you have done. So these are the two approaches. First one, which we discussed in the beginning, that is bottom up approach. That is, here first you talk about the situations over there, based on the situations, then based on that you have all the constraints or the conditions or the complexity, and the last you talk about your results and recommendation. This is one approach which is called bottom up. This should be applied when you need to have a detailed conversation with a person who needs to understand the step-by-step analysis. The next one is, and this type of approach is basically applied when you have personal conversation with someone or anyone, right? And the second approach, which is called the top-down approach, here the end result is something where the concerned person is a sense of urgency in understanding that. That is one of the approach which generally has, you have your results and the recommendations, then you have the complexity which exactly was there, what were the constraints and all that, and in the last part you say the situation. So based on the level of information, at the beginning top down you have the minimum information so that that person who has a sense of urgency. So when you want to convey your information with a sense of urgency, you should always follow top down approach. So this was the latest episode of this talks, and I hope this helps you, and try to apply this basis on the situation, analyze it, do a litmus test where try to see what the other person's is applying, what type of communication skill over there, what type of communication skill the corresponding person wants to have, and trust me, you will have a lot of learning. So till next time, thank you so much for watching and hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Take care.